Today's adventure begins here in New York City as the recording of this Monday, May 15th, 2023, going under the glitter and polish nail and spa to John's coffee shop. American flag in the window. Tampa J is in the reflection. Let's get some John's coffee.
Get some coffee.
Coffee? You talking like a Bostonian?
I've been here too long. No, I was trying to do a New York accent.
That was New York?
But I'm not that good at it.
Welcome everyone. Out of the Woo here. I noticed they did not put the cardboard sleeve around it, and it is definitely piping hot.
Very piping hot. It's burning my hand.
Today we're gonna
very warm.
Today we're gonna take the subway over to an area you are familiar with, Central Park.
Oh, Central Park.
I am gonna go by some John Lennon spots, quite a few John Lennon spots, and then just kind of see where I've always wanted to go to Strawberry Field, the Imagine on the ground mural in Central Park, and the Dakota, and then possibly a few other things maybe that you have in mind. We're just gonna have a mishmash experience.
A little sightseeing. Central Park, beautiful, a lot of iconic spots. Who knows what we're gonna see along the way. There's all kinds of things to see.
My entire life, well, probably the last 30 years of my life, I've always wanted to go to where John Lennon had his last moments. Big Beatles fan.
I'm a big Beatles fan myself. I visited spots before, but it's been a few years. I'm anxious to see what's going on and what transpired over there.
Yeah, maybe you can share some of your experiences there before, and I can have like kind of a somber moment, and we'll have some good moments too.
I can only imagine.
Well done. Inviting you to join me and Tampa J.
Shall you?
I like what you did there with the I Can Only Imagine. That's another song. That's a different song though, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there is a song, a Christian artist did a song called I Can Only Imagine, and it ended up becoming a big top 40 hit.
Yeah.
Which is rare. Which is rare for a Christian artist to like have a...
Yeah, I know that song very well.
Doing the subway. We've been doing some rideshare stuff. I did a taxi from the airport. I'm trying to do different modes of transportation today. Some subwayage. Celebrating 110 years of Grand Central, as stated here. There's some copies of the New Yorker and the Grand Central on the New Yorker. Like this vintage old letterbox right here. So we got to do a little more research on which of the trains we need to take.
So most of the trains up here go far out.
I do have an affinity for vintage clocks like this. Jay is inquiring over here at the Metro North train information which way we need to go. Being very helpful. Good not to get on the wrong train. I can never not be excited about showing this building. It's incredible. Okay, so the gentleman gave us a map, said that we had to go up 4 blocks to another station. That way we won't have to transfer.
That way we don't have to transfer. We're gonna go to Ryan Park and get on the train.
Let's do that.
Direct route.
You know, a lot of New Yorkers get a kind of a negative connotation, but I gotta say, we've run into a lot of really nice people in the city.
I always say that every time I come.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah.
You know, that stereotype needs to be broken.
I mean, there's probably some a-holes, but there's a-holes everywhere. Evidently, this is also known as Pershing Square. And one thing there is no lack of through here are taxis. Taxis, Ubers, Lyfts, ride shares, subways, trains. A plethora of transportation. No need for a car in the city. In fact, I didn't even rent one. You usually have a big car renter guy. No, that's a big no-no. Don't do that.
Yeah, we're gonna go down here.
I love the vibe of the subway. It just flashback to so many like 80s movies. But think about subways on film. It never ends well. Entering through. I like the organic sounds of the subway. The B train. You talking to me? You talking to me? Getting off at 59th Street. Awesome. Right there. Columbus Circle.
Welcome to Columbus Circle. I'm thinking of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Band.
Is that Spuds McKenzie? Oh, never mind. I thought that was like a Spuds McKenzie type of dog, but it's not. Where's Rick Moranis when you need him? They are taking lawn maintenance to a whole other level. Got the lawn tractor over there. Turn this way and you get a really good view.
Is that awesome?
Of the skyline, partial skyline here. The Essex house. Man, this is awesome.
Okay, wait for it. I don't know if they call these the Columbus Rocks.
Pretty epic view. Yeah. There's actually a lot of footage of John and Yoko in the park walking around. A lot of video footage. They were always in this park.
They lived right across the street from it, yeah.
I'm also really glad this exists in the city because there is no square footage anywhere except Central Park.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing. The value of this land to a developer would be astronomical. You could have 100,000 people just living in this one section right here. And this is only 1/100th of Central Park.
It's the longest Central Park. It truly is. Without this here, the air would be pretty dirty. This is
all these trees.
This is like just a giant filter to the concrete jungle.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Little sculpture here of someone with a falcon or an eagle or a bird of some sort.
I think it says the falcon.
Falcon? Oh, yeah, it does say the falcon on it.
Falcon.
No honking over here, no sirens over in here, just birds chirping up in the trees. I like it.
It's there. It's so beautiful.
Getting some mind game vibes in there. Of course, John and Yoko used to walk around in there quite a bit. They also filmed the video for Mind Games. I love John Lennon's solo stuff too. I love the Beatles, but later in my life I started really appreciating John's solo stuff. There he is. Abraham Lincoln here. Look at that. I have arrived to a place that I have wanted to come for a long time to pay my respects. I went through a big phase, probably for a good solid 3 years. I mean, I've liked the Beatles. My dad liked the Beatles. It was his favorite band growing up. In fact, he picked up the guitar because he loved the Beatles. And I always remember him talking about the Fab Four, me growing up. And then later in life, I really started to come into my own with my Beatle fandom. This is the Dakota. This is where John and Yoko Ono lived. And John would frequent Central Park, which is located right over here. He would meet up with people, take photos, plenty of videos of him wandering around over in there. And they lived here till his last moments. December 8th, 1980 is when the event happened. It was a very eventful day. In fact, there was a photo shoot by, it was for Rolling Stone. It was the front cover of Rolling Stone. For Rolling Stone, the cover of Rolling Stone with Yoko laying on the ground, John in the nude, in the naked, laying on top of her, of course concealed where you really couldn't see anything. You know, so it's a PG photo shoot. And originally, Rolling Stone, from what I heard, didn't want Yoko in it, but John said, no, I'm not gonna be on the cover of Rolling Stone without my wife. So that's how that happened. Those photos were taken on the same day that Mark David Chapman showed up here twice, 2 times. So Chapman showed up earlier that day, December 8th, 1980, a day that will kind of live on in infamy. But basically, as the story goes, as I've always heard it over the years, as Chapman showed up earlier that day, in the early evening, got a photo taken by a guy named Paul Gorish, I believe is what his name was. And he was an acquaintance of Lennon's who would take photos always in front of the Dakota. And he took a bunch of photos. In fact, the photo is used on the single for the album from his buddy Paul, not McCartney, but Paul Gorish, of him walking right out of here on Watching the Wheels, the single, which is my favorite of John Lennon's solo. Yeah, I really relate to that song. So Paul was here taking a photo of John and Yoko walking out, getting into their car right here. They went to the studio, where they recorded Double Fantasy, which is where David Chapman was over here standing, getting an autograph, the last photo, one of the last photos, maybe the last photo of Lennon still living, with Paul Gorish over here taking a photo of Lennon with Chapman right there, holding the Double Fantasy album. You getting goosebumps?
Yeah. Oh, you re-saying it. I've been here a couple times before. It's just always so heavy, man.
Yeah.
Big fan myself.
It's pretty sad. So then they got in the limo, they went off, they went over to the studio, which I'm gonna try to figure out where that was. Of course, Double Fantasy had already been recorded, but went over to the studio, came back around 10:50, I believe it was, went in, Chapman was here waiting, and yeah, the rest is kind of history. And this little sideway here. Now, this is the photo from the Watching the Wheels single, vinyl single that Paul Gorish took. So he's basically standing where we are, and the doorman is now, but it still looks the same. And here's a photo with John's acquaintance, his buddy. I don't know if they were friends, but they were definitely acquaintances, who took the last photo and the photo with Chapman. I'm not sure if this was on the same day as Paul. I mean, it might have been the same day as Paul Gorish and Lennon here. Look how happy this doorman is here. The only people that had any clue this was going to go down was Chapman, who, yeah, he had kind of prearranged it in his mind that it was going to happen. This is not Chapman. As far as I know, that is Paul Gorish. Because you'll notice Chapman did not have a mustache, Gorish did. But this is the photo, so this is right in front of that archway. So this is John Lennon signing the album for Double Fantasy. John was always kind to the fans that would show up here. In fact, when he showed up later that night and Chapman, you know, did his horrific deed, Lennon could have easily just pulled in the archway, but he didn't. He wanted to get out and sign some autographs and get some photos with those who liked him. So he could have easily protected himself, but he didn't. So this is one of the last moments. Right here. Here's another photo. Yoko's on the other side of John there. Still see the angle of that building still looks the same. Now the photos I'm showing did not happen at 10:50 p.m. that night when Lennon showed back up. Would have got out of his car, walked in, and Chapman was over there waiting. He had seen him earlier that day. And as he was walking, I said, the cars, the limos could have just pulled right inside of here. Would have been no big deal for the doorman to just open up. They could have gone in, protected and everything. I believe it was 5 into the back of Lennon, so not even in the front. Lennon was walking away, and you know, pretty horrible. Definitely horrible. I think Chapman's still in jail to this day. Pretty cowardly to shoot someone in the back. And of course, once the news broke, it was just worldwide. I mean, I remember what it was like when Robin Williams died in my generation, and I would imagine it probably would have been kind of about the same vibe for a lot of people. Definitely cried a lot when Robin Williams passed away, and I would imagine a lot of tears were shed for Lennon that day.
Just changed.
Yeah, here's another photo by Gorish across the way with Lennon getting what I was kind of reading, that Gorish was kind of the Dakota Lennon photographer. Like John and Yoko got to know him by name, were very friendly with him. They definitely liked having him taking photos. And once the news broke, a shrine immediately popped up in front of this. You can see the little stanchions here. You can see all the flowers that were left right in front of there. You can see the lanterns there and all that. Still looks the same. I mean, this is exactly, it's very eerie how precise it looks. And yet another photo here of the cruisers out front blocking all the people. Incredible to think about. Very sad. Taking in his prime. You gotta wonder if he had lived another few more decades, what kind of songs, what kind of theories, what kind of opinions, what would have happened to John Lennon? So here's a couple of artistic renderings of kind of what went down. So you could see Lennon walking away in the back there. Chapman is the first there. Yoko, I believe, probably up towards the top. And then here's even more detailed, kind of given the info here. So the car was parked at the curbside right in front next to the Sentry Post, 72nd Street, in the passway to Dakota Courtyard, this states. So the car was right in front. So the car was not off where that other car is. The car was like right here. Would have got out, walked in, and it would have happened right there. Right basically where the gate is going into the different brickwork from the concrete onto the blocks, and kind of in that general area there. Would you say it's probably the most photographed doorman of all time?
I was saying, yeah,
Well,
that guy's probably in a lot of videos and photos.
I would imagine so. Because we've been standing here, there's probably been 30 people stop by, take photos.
And there's always a doorman there. No one's ever not on shift.
All right, I was looking online, I found a few photos. There's one of Yoko out on the kind of the, not the balcony, but with the door open, and it faced over into the park. So I'm guessing either probably this one or that one there with the little veranda there and the wrought iron around the side. Probably that one, but it was something on this side right here. A magnificent view of Central Park, and someone has placed a John Lennon sticker right here too. There's also a photo of John and Yoko right here on this very street corner, right about here. There is the photo as well. Pretty impressive building. This is definitely a spot I wanted to come to for a long time. Very long time. Now there is a place in Central Park called Strawberry Fields. It's just in the same area. In fact, it is very close to here. It's just within very short walking distance right into the park itself. I believe in the mid-'80s they did this in honor of John, and they placed they named it Strawberry Fields in honor of him. And they have the whole setup, and they have the Imagine template, not a mural, but they call it whatever they would want to call that, the tiling and whatnot. And where the mosaic is within eye view of the Dakota right there. Look at that. That's how close it is. After the occurrence, or after the event took place, John Lennon was taken over to the Roosevelt Hospital, which is 1 mile away. It is now Sinai West Memorial. 1 mile that direction. Now, while we were back there at the little memorial, there was a guy playing guitar. He started playing Strawberry Fields. I started to get a little choked up.
Yeah, me too, man. That's heavy.
Started to get a little choked,
man. Just like John would have wanted it.
Yeah. I always think about it from a doctor or a nurse's perspective. You know, because yeah, the Beatles were the biggest group in the world. Like, who didn't know John Lennon when they're brought in? Famous people are brought in. They go about their job and they take care of their business. But they must have to think, wow, this is who I have. This is it. This is the spot. You can see this is the original building here. Like this whole area. You can even see how dated it is. Almost looks like something from that generation. And then this would be the newer building up top here. Do not know what room it was. And obviously we're not going to go in and film inside, but wanted to show the exterior. Made it down into the Hell's Kitchen district, corner of West 48th and 9th Ave. Down this way used to be the old studio where Yoko and John collaborated on Double Fantasy. Right down here. Which is the album that Chapman got signed, John signed for Mark David, before everything else kind of culminated in that horrible moment. So it was one of these. So this is 353 West 48th. Let's see if I can match up a photo. There used to be an awning. Okay, it probably was right here. See if this brick wall looks the same. No placard, no info of any time, no historical significance documented other than the 353 up top. And I believe it was on the top floor. Okay, here's a photo. So there was an awning. Looks like the entrance has changed a little bit, but if you look over here, there's these very interesting gray boxes that are still there. They have removed the metal grates and whatnot and placed mirrors there. So they would have basically walked in right below where the 353 is And there's an elevator when you look inside, and I did confirm that it was on the 6th floor where they recorded the album Double Fantasy. And just a weird, sad tie-in to Chapman. Now also, there used to be a step up right here. Now there's like a little slanted area, so there's no step leading into it, but definitely see those gray squares are still there. The elevator would lead from floor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 being the very, very top floor right up there. And there's a rumor that Yoko ended up utilizing that for other recordings, but it was a different company. It wasn't Hit Central or Hit Studios. That was the same, but even though she ended up utilizing the same studio space, another studio moved in that she later in life utilized as well. Okay, very interesting. I just mentioning the other place called Sear Sound moved in like 2 decades after the Hit Factory did, and they're still in there. Offices, look at this, offices, 6th floor. Sear Sound right there. That is wild.
Cool, it's still a recording studio.
That's where they would have walked in. Yeah, so it was right in there on the 6th floor where they recorded the tracks for that album, just like Starting Over on that. Beautiful Boy, which he dedicated to his son, and Watching the Wheels. Very interesting tie-in because of the Chapman tie-in I was mentioning, but also in the songs that were recorded up there for Watching the Wheels, the photo was taken and used for the single from Double Fantasy that was recorded in here over at the Dakota. So just kind of some weird tie-ins. It just kind of all connects with the subject matter at hand. Okay, have wandered over here to the first spot that John and Yoko moved to. In August of 1971, they lived in the St. Regis Hotel. In fact, there's an interview. There's not a lot of photos of them here, but there is an interview that John did. Of course, they're asking about the breakup of the Beatles and the court case and all that. Pretty descriptive interview of his, unhappiness with how a lot of it was happening. And just a quick search, I couldn't find what room number it was or anything. It probably wouldn't be allowed to get up to it either way. But I kind of wanted to throw this in as well, just because when, after the breakup of the Beatles and all that, and he just kind of wanted to get to, do some different things, came to New York, him and Yoko, before they got the house. They lived in one other house, which is in Greenwich Village, before going over to the final place that he ever lived. But first, it was over here at the St. Regis. John and Yoko. Yoko and John. And I believe Yoko met him in New York, if I remember right. And from this area, pretty much all this area, there are a lot of really ornate, beautiful churches that are down here. Look at this one, it's kind of silhouetted out with a little sunburst against the window. I'm gonna go over to a spot that's not Beatles or Lennon related, but Midnight Cowboy. The I'm Walking Here spot. This is going to be kind of tough to match up because the scene is really zoomed in for Midnight Cowboy. It's on this corner. Okay, if you type in 1414 6th Ave, Manhattan, blue dot's a little off because there's big buildings around, but you can see up here down 6th, so here's Central Park up there. 1414 is the building I'm standing right in front of, which now has ivy around it. It's more of an upscale restaurant. But they were walking right down here, down the sidewalk. There's a long zoomed in shot, and they're walking that direction. You see Central Park is over there. There's a taxi right there. So basically, if I was to walk across here, so I'm just doing this, if I was to slam my hand down on that cab, that's the exact spot Dustin Hoffman did and yelled out, "I'm walking here. I'm walking here." Right there. Coming right down here, super zoomed in. So I almost say they had the camera probably all the way down there with an incredible lens zoomed in for that now iconic ad-lib. It wasn't even expected. As the rumor goes, they had a barricade down that direction, and the taxi driver didn't want to wait because it was so annoyed with the filming going on in New York. It went through the barricade, went around it, and ruined the very, very long, the long shot that was happening. So taxi comes by, goes right through here, right about where that gray van is, Dustin Hoffman walks across, slams his head down on the thing, and slams his hand down on the thing, does the ad-lib, yelling. He really was upset, and they kept it in.
Hey, I'm walking in.
I'm walking here. Right there, you could go put your hands down on that taxi right here. Yeah, it was right here. Now when you watch the clip in the movie, the camera is a little farther back and zoomed in. You can't see the 1414 or the Spiro's floral shop, but evidently there was a photographer on the scene, so the camera was like just a little bit farther over to the right and zoomed way in, and thankfully they were able to get this address. So this is the proof that this is where this happened, which is now that restaurant across the way. 1414 6th Ave, corner of West 58th. All right, we're gonna get back on the subway and head south. Another area. I'm gonna go down Columbus Circle Station, down the hill, and elsewhere. Downtown. Got the sun glistening upon the water. In fact, the wake is so heavy that this dock is like kind of banging around over here. But off in the distance, the Statue of Liberty. I've never been onto the island or up in the Statue of Liberty. That is on my to-do list one day. I don't know if I will be able to do it on this New York trip. But I'm gonna definitely be back to New York. This is not my last day. I'm still here for a couple more days, but got other things on the list. But I've really enjoyed the last few days that I've been here, and we'll be coming back on a very regular basis. But across the way, a very important landmark for many, many reasons. But there's a little bit of a tie-in with this episode also. Photo of John Lennon in front of that. One of the most famous photos of him in New York, to be honest. Now it's going to get a little grainy and blurry when I zoom in, and I am zooming in from the side. Lady Liberty, right over there. Very impressive and very important. Just seeing that just is such a sight. And that dock is really just bolted up and down up against the side there, making a lot of racket. There's the photo I'm talking about. Given the peace sign in front of Lady Liberty. And this, I guess you could call this dusk. I've covered some serious ground today and didn't think I was going to make it over here, but we've been walking a lot. We've been commuting around the town, and just decided, you know what, I should head over to Bank Street, which in October of '71, John and Yoko moved out of that hotel I showed a little bit earlier over near the, hey, I'm walking there, I'm walking here, that area, and moved over to Bank Street into their first New York home that is right down here. A very modest accommodations for one of the lead singers in the biggest rock groups of all time. I think he probably could have afforded a little more, but he lived in a little walk up over here near Greenwich Village. So it's this one right here. It's this kind of, I guess, whitish hue building. Wow. This was where they lived. Probably not going to be a plaque of any type on the front of it. So there is a basement down here that says not an entry. So there's like a basement floor, then there's this floor. I guess it'd be a 4-story building. Actually, someone lives up there. The window is open. There are photos.
It's crazy.
Of them in the front. There's like some photos of them in the bed up there. And evidently they probably, I guess this is probably the entrance that you would have gone in here and headed up to the top.
The guy was like the little thing.
The what thing?
He knew it was the Lennon house.
The neighbor, just one of the people in the wind came by and said that he knew what it was, but Jay was just noticing this thing might be on the destruction block here.
I don't think
Well, not the destruction block, but it might be on the chopping block, if you will. The wrecking ball might be coming in, you know, just a figure of speech. This might end up, yeah, they've already got the permits. Wow, look at this. Construction area, no one lives here. Okay, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Wow, so this thing might be gone soon. Really soon. I'm glad I came over here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're documenting it.
So their loft apartment, it was the top floor of the building I just showed that's gonna be torn down. Looks like it may be even condemned. Either way, there's three sets of windows. 2 sets of windows you can see in this photo where they're watching TV, and the other set would be behind the television right there. I'm not sure who took this photo, but there is a photo. I mean, they had people kind of following them around they were friends with that would take photos of them for magazines and whatnot. But this photo is inside that building. In fact, it looks like the windows are the same. It has the, I don't know, it almost can't.
They may have changed out the windows.
Good. It was a cost.
Yeah, maybe they changed the blocks out on them. Tough to tell. Yeah, probably so, because those have 2 sets of 3,
Yeah,
where this just has the 3. So evidently they opened up the window, probably just air it out. There's just no one living in there at the moment. But you can picture them just walking out of that basement area there. Probably wasn't even an elevator in there, just stairs. You probably had to do a walk out. Just think of John Lennon, biggest music star in the world, not taking an elevator up to his 4th floor apartment right up there. Which is, you know, just, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around that. So there it is, 105 Bank Street. And the reason he moved out is a former tenant that lived on one of the other levels, maybe even the one that was in where his apartment was, returned, evidently had some accomplices with him and robbed him of some possessions, his address book, the television that was shown in that picture that they were watching up there. He was really disappointed that they stole his TV and his address book. There's a whole backstory on the address book as well. We got the address book back because he kind of put out some threats out there that he was going to send some people to find it. So whoever took the address book returned it, and then he said, you know what, this place is not safe, I'm going to move to the Dakota. And even though a lot more secure, we all know how that ended. But that could have happened here too. This was his neighborhood. If you would just walk by here and think, oh, this would be like where maybe John Lennon grew up. This was like before he got famous. Right. No, he was the most famous person you could imagine in here, right up there. This is like my old St. Cloud apartment, you know, like I mean, probably a little more money to rent now, but yeah, it's just like a little, it's just a loft.
It's a little flat, yeah, a loft. So practical.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And all that got him to go somewhere more expensive was for safety.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Chapman's been interviewed on why he did it and all that, and I believe, I might be paraphrasing, but it was said that he didn't like how John Lennon was quote unquote hypocrite when it came. So I'm paraphrasing, so I don't know why I'm quote unquoting it, but it didn't like how he was a hypocrite when it came to his money. He tried to like kind of have this attitude where he wasn't all about that. But this kind of proves that, yeah, he was a pretty modest guy.
You can hear it in his music.
Yeah, you could even say he was a working class hero. A working class hero is something to be.
Didn't know you were wearing the button. Give peace a chance.
Yeah, I've had the button on the whole time. There you go.
Give peace a chance.
Yeah, it's gutted out. I'm looking inside. They already have the construction lights. Jay also noticed there's the staircase. So like I said, no elevator. They would have walked in this door and then walked up those very stairs to the next set of stairs up to their 4th floor loft. Up to the next one. Oh, you know what? Here's interesting. Okay, so you got 1 floor, 2 floor. Maybe those 2 windows are those windows that are in that photo.
Oh.
And maybe each apartment only had,
yeah, this is the
because
staircase.
it's the stairwell. That is a possibility.
It's even smaller than we thought.
I mean, it's tough to say for sure, but
I think you're right.
so those could be the exact 2 windows that are in that photo, with the bed behind there and the TV. Yeah.
So this is a bottom apartment, so there's no stairs, and this leads to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Yeah. So 1 apartment, 2 apartments, there's 4 apartments in here. And it was just 2 windows. Incredible. Glad we stopped by here, because this probably won't be here next time I'm in New York. Okay, we cannot confirm. We tried to make heads or tails of all the stuff. It could be that they're just fixing it up.
Hope so. Hopefully it's just a restoration.
I guess we'll find out soon enough. There is a date on there for the end of June 27th that they have until to have those permits. That could be a demo, or I don't know. Let's look at this. Does that look like a demo, or does that look like a refurb?
I don't know. Man. I'm gonna stay positive.
But if they refurb it, it means no one's living there right now, which means maybe it will be for rent. It could be quite the rental opportunity.
That's prime real estate.
I could lay in bed and watch TV in the same spot that Yoko did. And that's gonna do it for today. A lengthy day. Covered a lot of ground. Back up in the room. Nightfall has reared its head. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. The vlog is